Hey everybody, what's up? It's your boy Kib, otherwise known as Import Jungle, jungler for Team No Names, and I'm going to be talking about Terra, the newest hero that just got revealed, or just got announced, whatever it's called, the video that came out, like the 1 minute video, and I'm also going to be talking about this, which is the data mined numbers. Gonna take that out. The data mined numbers for her as well, so I'm gonna talk about her kit, what I think she's gonna, where I think she's gonna be played, what I think her role's gonna be, like what you're gonna see her as, and just talk pretty generally about it, and just come whatever comes to mind. This is pretty just loose for me. No script, no nothing. I'm just going with it. Just really excited for this hero, and just really want to talk about it with you guys. Want to hear what you guys think about it and just all that stuff. So without further ado, here's the data mine kit, the numbers, and all this. Like it says up here, just a disclaimer, all these numbers could be changed or something, but it still gives you a good idea about more specifics on the kit. Don't really care about these base numbers, honestly. They're not really relevant to what I'm looking at for the most part. 702 health is kind of important. It's pretty high base health. Something to keep in mind, and probably base armor would be another decent one, but that would be about it. Pretty low base armor, to be honest. So that's just something to keep in mind, is the base armor and the health, but that's really about it. So let's go into her alternate, which is her R&B. It's the shield. I'm not really sure how it works. I'm guessing that 6-second cooldown, you can block an ability. Okay, shield duration 3 seconds. You don't know a lot of things about this ability. Is this ability like a channel of some sorts? Do you like put up your shield? Do you just stay behind the shield? Is it like shield steel wall? Is basically what I'm, or steel shield wall ability, where you have to hold it up and all this, and then it can stay up there for 3 seconds. You don't really know the specifics, but I'm assuming you either max this ability second or last. I'm thinking last, but it could be a second, depending on how good it is. So, and it goes down to 6 seconds, which means that its potency can be really high with like a 50% uptime. Depending on how it works, this could be very scary ability. So let's go into the primary. I had some misunderstandings whenever I saw this, the arc. I don't know if this is I don't know if this is actually scaling or if this is like the arc that it hits, like the cone. I'm not really sure. If any of you guys know, please let me know. But I'm just saying I don't really know what arc means. I'm assuming that it's the cone, but I have been told that it is the scaling, but I'm not really sure. But I assume it's the cone, so I'm just going to assume it's the cone. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But just keep that in mind. So this is probably going to be your primary, your main maxing ability. Surprise, surprise! Your Q ability is getting maxed again. The reason why that this ability is going to be maxed is because it has the highest damage, obviously. 7-second cooldown means it's relatively spammable in fights. And the other thing is that it just has the highest base damage out of any of the other abilities. So it's just what you're going to be maxing first. And also, the stun duration on her third ability doesn't really go up that much. It goes 0.2 per level from 1.4 to 2 seconds. So I'm thinking that you're going to max this in all situations, unless maybe you're playing support. I think even support, you would want the extra 210 damage coming out from the Q. So this ability, this is what this looks like, or what this looked like, was a Grux Clap, and essentially it's a 2-second stun Grux Clap at max level with 164, like pretty moderate damage. The damage is not really relevant though. It's just, you're just doing it for the Grux Clap and shit. So 14-second cooldown, pretty decent cooldown. 90 mana cost at all ranks, cool. This can be the ability max second or last, most likely. And finally, her ultimate. This is probably her most important ability, not just because it's her ultimate, because of how game-breaking it is in a sense, where it's almost to the same degree that like Revenant and Phase were, in my opinion, to the game and how it changes a lot of these things. Now, the cooldown is very high. 2-minute cooldown at rank 1 going down to 100 seconds. Without there being much CDR in this game, it's a pretty high cooldown, honestly. Especially for a tank ultimate, considering the other ones like Rampage or like even Grux to a degree, like we're pretty low CD ultimates, I think. I think Grux is about the same, but you get the point. Is that for a tank ultimate, it's a pretty high CD considering the others. 100 mana cost at all ranks, decent cost, not really that bad. Juggernaut and shield duration goes from 4, 5, and 6. And then the shield magnitude increases per level up to 700. That's a massive shield. Juggernaut, though, essentially, there's a card called Awaken the Ancient, which I won't be pulling up here. I should have been more prepared. But like I said, this is just me free-flowing. This is me just kind of freestyling. So Awaken the Ancient, effectively, you get the Juggernaut buff, which, and once you reach a certain health threshold on Awaken the Ancient, which is a card that hasn't been introduced yet, you get a Juggernaut buff, which gives you damage reduction and CC immunity for the duration of whatever the buff of the buff. And so if it's the same buff and you get damage reduction and CC immunity for 6 seconds, and it's like 20% damage reduction, then this ultimate is actually insane. There are some things that could make this ultimate a bit bad, though. Cast times, things like this, the same reason that the RMB could be bad, is because of the cast times, but you could still work around that through proper positioning and better play. So, for the most part, this is her entire kit. She is like a very slow-moving tank. She has 0 mobility. She doesn't have any ranged abilities. She has the highest mitigation in the game, by far, is what it looks like on paper. The highest mitigation in the game. If her RMB works out to be a pretty good defensive ability, then she probably has the highest next to Rampage. And the 2-second clap, or the 2-second stun, like area stun, because it has a radius, the 2-second area stun is going to be so oppressive in fights. And just the fact that you cannot deny her to just walk into your entire team. You know, usually what would happen to a frontliner like a Rampage or something, or a Grux when they have no mobility, is that your mage, or just anybody, they place down like an ability, so they place down like Face Low. You place it down in a choke, and the Grux has to walk through it, or the Rampage has to walk through it, and then they're slowed. With this hero, it doesn't happen. You literally just bolt through this, and people have to play differently. You create so much space just by being this body that's like, I have this stun, and you cannot stop me. I have this massive shield. I take no damage. And even if the damage is low, even if she only has 2 damaging abilities like she has, it doesn't matter because the pressure will be super insane by just having this big body that you just can't do anything about. It's the same reason why Rampage is like so strong all the time, is because he's just this immovable object to some degree in his ultimate, and it looks like it's going to be the same thing with this hero. I do think that this hero is rather exploitable, simply because of no mobility and the fact that her ultimate is only a 6-second duration, unlike Rampage's is about a 10-second duration. So I think she is a bit more exploitable. She doesn't have the long-range initiation, and I think you really do have to play around chokes a lot more. But I think this hero will be very, very strong if played properly. I think she might actually be very broken, just by looking at the kit. So, where do I expect her to be played? Not just bias here. I think she's mainly going to be a jungler. I think you will see her sometimes in the solo lane if you want to pinch draft in a competitive setting. I do not think her best role is the solo lane, though. The reason why is specifically this, the 7-second cooldown on her primary trading ability. The reason why this is important is because you look at other heroes, you look at Kwang, you look at Sev, and you look at their abilities and what they do. You might go, oh, well, Kwang RMB has like a 14, 15-second cooldown, maybe 11 at max rank or something. Yes, that is true, but the fact that he gets the buff off of it is really, really important. So if you fight a Kwang and he just RMBs your Q, he's always going to win the trade, and he's going to lifesteal the autos, and just all of this. So she has very low damage and abilities, and this really worries me, especially in the solo lane, because in the solo lane, you're going to be... It's all about pressing your advantage, and I just don't see how this pick really presses your advantage. It's a very stalwart pick. It doesn't really move. It doesn't really do much. At least with Kwang and Sev, you can just like root people, dash behind them, knock them in, or you can just sword people and create stuff happening. If you rotate with this hero, and unless you get a really good hard flank, I don't see how you're going to do work from the solo lane. Maybe the lane will be good, but I just don't know how you transition with this hero is really just the biggest thing. I could be completely wrong here. This is all just like my first impression. But that's how I saw it, was that she doesn't really have that much ability damage. Her ultimate does no damage. Her alternate does no damage. And I don't know, it's just a very stalwart pick. Like I said, it's very, it's very situated, and it has to be walked into. You can't walk on people with it. And that's, I think the soul lane is more of a role where it enables heroes that can walk on people. Even if they are ranged heroes, you can just like walk on somebody as like a Revenant, you can just dive them. Or like as a Kwang, you can just start walking on, you auto him, you right click, and you're just more durable, you just start scrapping with them. With a Sev, you just start pumping out these Qs, 15 mana, 3-second cooldown, that you got all these stacks for. Like, I just don't think that this hero is going to have the windows in her to really abuse. Maybe her shield works in a way where she can win trades, and then she can win extended trades. We're not sure. If it's just projectiles, though, I don't think that this hero is going to be able to win extended trades. If he can't block Sev Q, if he can't block Kwang right click, then I don't think it's going to be playable in the solo lane, like really playable. I think people will still play it, and I think it will still be a pick that people commonly pick in the solo lane. At least on first glance, unless it just gets completely dumpstered in lane. But I think it will be a pick that people will try to make work. I just don't think it will work. I think it's much more situated in the jungle, where you could force these things, where you can fight on places like the black buff and like the green buff, like the river buffs. You can force people to come into you because they're like, I don't want to give this for free. They come into you, you stun them, you kill them, you have all this pressure, and then you could dive them, things like this. So I think this pick is much more situated to the jungle just by how the kit works and just how the trading patterns are a bit weak. I do not think this hero is a support hero simply because of the current metagame. In the same vein that I don't think that it's a solo laner. I think in the future this hero could be perfect for the solo lane if the solo lane's more about rotating than it is about the 1v1. But simply because the solo lane is what it is right now, where it is about the extended 1v1, who wins this, and like your solo laner is always gonna be managing the wave and fighting against the other solo laner. It's really hard to say that like this person's gonna beat somebody out or win in pressure, because that's really what you want at your solo lane pick. But in support, melee supports have been in a very bad spot ever since the 2v2 change came back in. Simply because of trading patterns as well. I think the only melee support that could even possibly work is like a Richter if you're on like a hard kill lane, and then you just have setup for it. Like you have like a Wraith Richter, you hook back it up into a hook, and then you just kill people. Narbash has been pretty bad. His stuns are not as good, or his stun is not as good comparatively, because before he was the first person to have, or the only person to have a 1 second stun at level 1, and now Decker has it, now Zinx has it, now all these other heroes have it. So it's just like his niche kind of just went away. So I think melee supports are pretty bad. I would not be expecting to see this hero in the support role at any time soon. I think you will see this predominantly in the jungle and solo lane. I think it's a better pick in the jungle. That is essentially how I feel about this hero. I think this hero will be very strong. Very strong, especially in the current climate of heroes and what you need in a team comp. I think the only thing that it really lacks is like some real on-demand engage. It doesn't have any mobility. It doesn't have a long range. It doesn't have a ranged ability at all. So a little bit scary. But if you can force people to run into you, and if you can fight around, or if you can play around your strengths, I think this hero is very strong. And the CC immunity really creates this extra layer that people need to play around. I think that the ultimate in and of itself is what really makes this hero very strong. But we'll see. I'm really excited to play this hero, and just let me know what you think. This is just my quick overview, and just see you next time.